are joined again this morning by Dr. Jason Maljars, a neurologist with St. Francis, and he's with us a couple weeks ago. We talked about nutritional brain health, taught us a lot about Alzheimer's, dementia, kind of, I guess, moving our way into those topics, and now he's going to kind of go a little bit deeper, so thanks for joining us again this week. Yes, and so let's start with what's the main theory on maybe why we get Alzheimer's?
The prevailing theory of why we get Alzheimer's in the first place has been more or less centered around this idea, you can call it the amyloid theory. So there's this abnormal protein in the brain called amyloid, and it's produced by the neurons in the brain, and it normally would be kind of cleared away, and it has its purposes, it gets cleared away, and that's kind of the end of it. But in patients with Alzheimer's, there tends to be a buildup of that protein, so it doesn't get cleared away, it actually builds up around in the brain, in the neurons, and causes the neurons to stop working properly, and that buildup happens slowly over time, so you get that gradual progression of a slowdown of the brain function as that protein builds up. So that's kind of one of the main theories that has been driving the understanding and the research of Alzheimer's for the last few decades.
Oh, okay, wow.
Wow, yeah. And what are some of the flaws in this theory, and why the treatment for it may not work?
Yeah, so the theory is, there's an interesting backstory to the theory. So when Alzheimer's was first described back in the early 1900s by Dr. Alzheimer, he noticed on the brains of the patients that he took care of that there was this protein building up, and so that was kind of when amyloid was first thought to be one of the main factors in the disease. More recently, in 1980s and 90s and on, the research has really tried to sort of prove the idea that this protein is the main problem, and if we could just get rid of it, then we would be fine. So we've sort of built our theory on this idea that the protein is the problem, and that's kind of it. It's a bit of a narrow theory, to be honest, and there's been a couple big problems with that. Two big problems. One is we can check for the amount of protein in someone's brain with a special scan called an amyloid PET scan, and we've noticed that you can have Alzheimer's disease, like really bad, and have none of that protein in your brain, or very small amounts, and you can have a lot of that protein in your brain and not have any symptoms, not have Alzheimer's. So there's that discrepancy there. And then the other problem is it's kind of tragic, I think, and this is by no means unique to the Alzheimer's research field, but the theory has been based off of a few research papers, one in particular that it was published in 2006, I believe, and it basically really spearheaded the whole idea of, okay, Alzheimer's is definitely the answer. What the researchers did was they gave amyloid protein to mice, and they developed Alzheimer's. And so they said, okay, it's definitely the amyloid. Now we need to invest hundreds of millions of dollars in developing a drug to get rid of amyloid. And the problem was that theory, that paper was basically, there was like fabricated results, and the paper was actually just retracted about 2 months ago, finally.
Wow.
But there were fabricated results, which is just such a shame, but that drove so much research into these drugs we have now.
Yeah, that is crazy. I mean, 2006 you said, and just got retracted, and and I feel like a big question with Alzheimer's and dementia is the treatment. What can I do for that? And you were telling us there's been some drugs recently developed. Are there any promise to any of those drugs or anything like that?
The drugs are still based on this theory that if we could just get rid of the protein, we would be fine. And as you can imagine, like what's really going on in the brain is so complicated and so complex, and it's never just any one thing, right? So we do our best, and the problem is, you can imagine if the drugs are based off of a theory that's got some real holes in it, it's no surprise that they've not been effective. There's been over 400 drugs tried for Alzheimer's now, and to no real significant benefit. The best, as we mentioned last time, the best that we've gotten is that some people who take these newer drugs that have come out in the last couple of years will get worse a little bit less quickly than if they didn't take it. So that's almost as good as it gets. And the problem with so the drugs are still not they're not solving the problem, and they're not going to on their own. They may be helpful, they may add something, but they're not going to solve the problem on their own. The other side of that too is that that abnormal protein that they're clearing away, it also deposits in blood vessels in the brain. And as that protein gets cleared away by the drug, those blood vessels get fragile and can bleed. And so there's been a number of people in the clinical trials who have had, issues from bleeding or other swelling issues in the brain because of these medications.
Wow.
So they're, it's like we're desperate for some kind of treatment option, but we're not there, and it's in my opinion, not going to come from a magic silver bullet.
Yeah, and it's hard when what it's based off of, like you said, has some holes in it.
False information in there. Yeah.
Definitely.
So are there any alternative theories of the cause of dementia?
There's been a lot of different ideas here and there. Is it inflammation? Is it type 3 diabetes? Is it sleep deprivation? Is it genetics and all this? And I think what it appears to be, if you really step back and look at everything and kind of come away from that one narrow kind of idea that's just this one problem, and if we just solve this, we'll be good. Kind of look at everything, and it's multifactorial. So I kind of alluded to this earlier, but the brain is very aware of the environment that it's in, the health of the environment that it exists in, and it will either flourish and sort of perform optimally if it is in a healthy environment, or it will kind of start to protect itself if that environment is unhealthy. And so what makes an unhealthy brain environment? That's, everything from, the biggest problem is based on what we eat and how that makes our brain basically either inflamed and or resistant to, or basically become unable to metabolize the energy sources that are available for it in a proper way, based on insulin resistance, and there's some details about that that we can go into at another time. But and then things like, again, sleep deprivation, chronic stress. Do you have chronic inflammation somewhere like gum disease or leaky gut or irritable bowel syndrome or other conditions? And all these factors, right, they're not optimal for any state of health, but the brain is particularly sensitive. And so basically the very different way of looking at the causes of Alzheimer's is, instead of saying it's an abnormal protein that's building up, we just got to clear that out and we're good, it's much more like, really, there's many different factors all contributing, causing the brain to sort of slow down and develop the symptoms of dementia.
Yeah, which is why I'm really thankful that we're doing this, because I feel like there's so many different aspects to it, and that it can seem overwhelming when people first kind of hear about it, but it's helpful to kind of break it down to what may be causing it, or theories of how it started. So very interesting. Thank you for coming out again, and we will continue, like we said last time, dig into it. I feel like I learned so much every time, so thank you for coming out. Yes, definitely, and talking to us about it this morning. All right, stick around, guys. We'll be right back after the break.